Hi everyone and welcome to the webinar today. Thank you to everyone for joining. So in terms of who we've got on the call, you've got myself, Lucy. I'm one of the senior client managers here at Mail Manager, and John, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm John Andrews. I'm one of the owners of TGRWA. We're a structural engineering firm in Chicago.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to have you on the webinar today. So in terms of what we're hoping to go through today, first I'll start with just going through some of the challenges that our clients face with email, which I'm sure some of you on the call may relate to. And then I'll hand it straight over to John, who's going to be talking more about his business and what life was like before and after implementing Mail Manager. At the end, we'll go through a Q&A session, so we make sure we answer any of your questions, and we'll also leave some time to cover off the implementation process. But first of all, what would be quite useful is just to understand why you guys have joined today. So I'm just going to launch a poll for you. It should come up on your screen, I'm hoping, any second. So please fill that out once that comes through. Okay, so they're just coming in now. Okay, so it looks like most of you are looking at implementing Mail Manager. Cool. Okay, I'm going to launch that now for you. So yeah, it looks like most of you are looking and deciding whether to implement Mail Manager. So today's a really useful session for that, to be able to kind of learn from John. So I guess the first thing to start with is, what are the key concerns that built environment firms have when it comes to email? So what we tend to find is most of the time commercially sensitive information isn't shared across the business. It's normally left in someone's inbox, which can make it really difficult when you need to go back and find something. What we tend to see is it can become particularly frustrating when people leave the business, go on holiday, they're sick, and another staff member needs to actually find a conversation to understand what's been going on a project. I'm sure it won't be any news to you, but 80% of communication in the workplace is via email, and it gets used to make important decisions to do with things like scope of work changes, approvals, and typically, again, these emails are stuck within individuals' inboxes. What we're really seeing is a lack of consistency with email management in businesses. You might have someone in a company who's a really good filer, and then perhaps someone that's not so good. And because of that lack of consistency, it means that all relevant project information isn't being logged effectively in a structured way. So there's just a one more poll that I was hoping to launch to understand from you guys, I guess, which of the concerns you think are relevant today. So that's just going to come through now. It might be managing employee data, maybe the need for evidence on projects, enforcing accountability, or potentially wasted time searching. So I'll just leave that up. Well, okay, quite a mixed group here, so I just launched the results. I'll let you guys have a quick look. Looks very spread out, and I think it's quite common. You know, most of the time probably all of these are quite relevant for you and important, but there is obviously, of course, one that really sticks out more than most. So moves on nicely to what really happens in reality. So often that, I guess we call it that needle in a haystack email, can be found when we need to go back and find it. But by that point, you've probably spent huge amounts of time looking when you could have just spent that time doing fee earning work. Now, because of lack of email management in most companies, it can lead to really embarrassing situations where a client sort of asks you a question and you've taken hours to kind of find that email. Or for example, if a change was made on a project over email and no one was aware of it because it wasn't actually filed centrally. You may have spent months or even longer building relationships with clients, which can be tainted if you're unable to present that kind of one crucial email. What we tend to see is IT managers sort of may have an unnecessary big workload if they're having to go back, and they're normally the ones everyone runs to when something goes wrong. And IT teams now, you know, as you can imagine, are busier than ever due to the pandemic. Lastly, as you'll know, emails are often needed to be used as evidence if any disputes happen. The lawyers sort of come knocking at your door and you're not able to present those emails. It certainly becomes quite costly to the company. So I'm sure you'll be happy to know that's the end of my section. So I'll pass it over to John now, who'll be speaking more about his company and their experience with Mail Manager.
Okay, thanks, Lucy. So a little bit about TGRWA. We're a structural engineering firm in Chicago. We've been around for 40 plus years. We primarily do new construction and renovation. We don't get into any type of investigations. Typically, it's all new construction for architects, owners, and we do some work with contractors. We currently have 19 engineers and 4 BIM CAD operators. So we typically are around 24, 25, up to 30 at most is the highest we've been. Next slide, Lucy. A couple of examples of some of the projects we've done. Commercial project here, the Kohler Communications for Kohler products in Wisconsin. They do all of their own advertising, shoot all of their own commercials. It's a facility that we designed with Kensler. Governmental work, we're currently working on a new linear accelerator at Fermilab in Batavia, Illinois, to shoot particles for particle physics. Next slide. A hotel in Chicago, a podium structure for 2 floors of concrete, and the remainder of it is light gauge framing. A community center on the south side of Chicago that is funded by the Ranjo Joan Kroc Endowment for the Salvation Army. Next slide. We do some renovations. The Knox College Alumni Hall is at Knox College. Is one of the locations of the Lincoln Douglas debates, so it's got some historical significance, and it was originally a theater, and it was renovated into a new alumni hall where it's kind of the focal point when people come. And then we do a lot of data center work throughout the country, typically big box data centers filled with servers. Next slide. So before Mail Manager, everything that we did went through Outlook into specific project folders. We had to have our users create locations to archive things into the project folders using PST files for both the sent and received. We had a lot of trouble with sent emails. Typically, our users would not put the sent emails into specific folders to be archived. We also had to set up the archives to run at specific times, and so there was a lot of labor as far as getting our workforce to put it in. It wasn't something that was easy to centralize. There was really no search capabilities. Once something was filed, you needed to go find the PST and then just do a regular search through Outlook search function, which is not very good. It was hard to access correspondence on projects when necessary if they hadn't been filed correctly. And our company uses a VDI system. So the OST files that we have for Outlook tend to get large when people don't file their emails, which was causing some problems as far as storage on the server, and when user profiles need to get recreated, it was causing some issues there. So there was several things that were email related that were causing issues that we really didn't have a solution for. Next slide. So transitioning to Mail Manager. First, we were contacted through a cold call, and I sat through something similar to this and decided that we would go ahead and test it. And we had a couple of people try it out for about a month. It was probably more along the lines of 2 to 3 weeks to see how this worked. We were very happy with the way it worked, and decided that we were going to go forward with it. We worked with the technical group at Mail Manager to get it set up on our system. It was extremely easy. It was set up on our VDI system in probably 20 minutes to a half an hour. And then we were able to push it out to all of the users, and we had an onboarding with them that probably lasted about a half an hour, and it was extremely easy. As far as access to existing emails and moving and copying within Mail Manager, it's all done by the staff, and everybody got up to speed within a couple of days, and it was a very easy transition. Next slide. So since Mail Manager, it's very easy to find emails through their search function, even if something's filed incorrectly. You know, for the most part, it's because of the way the system works. You generally don't file things in the wrong location, but if by chance you do file something in the wrong location, using the search tools, you can search across all of the emails that are on our system within minutes, and it's extremely easy to find something even if it's in the wrong location. For our purposes with a BDI, it was really just the initial setup, and that was it. There was nothing else that went with it. We had the one training session that everybody got up to speed extremely quickly on. Access to all of the project emails and correspondence for all of our projects across the board. It's also very easy to segregate things out that may be sensitive and have them put into folders that are locked down for only certain individuals to use. We currently, with our current project structure, we put everything into an email folder, and it works right off of the server. So we already had kind of a folder structure that was set up that worked really well with implementing this, and every project has a project folder. Within the project folder, there was an email folder, and so it was very easy to set up the structure within Mail Manager. And then looking at all of the things that have been filed is quick and easy. Next slide. Onboarding, like I said, for the staff, it really only took 10-15 minutes to walk through in one of our Monday morning staffing meetings. When we bring new people on, typically one of us will sit down and show them how Mail Manager is used, and again, it takes 10 to 15 minutes at most. It's a very intuitive program once you get used to using it, and there's only a couple of things that really need to be understood. You know, one of the things that I'll also say with respect to setting things up, one of the problems that we had previously with the PSTs was that every individual had to set up their own archive. This gets set up in one place. So when a new project starts, I can set up the location for things to be sent to, and it's accessible to everybody then. So it cuts down a lot of that missed locations as far as people setting things up. Next slide. So we currently have, like I say, around 25 users. We have 240 active projects and 140 potential projects. So what we decided to do is when we go after new projects, we keep that also on our server and save all of the emails. Where we used to actually not have any of that, it kind of got lost in the shuffle. We're able to now go back and look when a project starts. If it goes from potential to real, we can see some of that early correspondence to try to understand how things kind of got where they were. So we currently have around 380 different projects that we're tracking through Mail Manager, and overall the staff is very happy with it. No issues whatsoever. Next slide. That's what I have.
Thank you so much for that, John. That was really, really useful to understand, I guess, your experience with this and some of the areas that you feel it's helped in. I guess now's probably good for everyone to ask any questions they've got. So John's able to answer them, or if there are any kind of more specifically Mail Manager related then obviously please feel free to ask. So we've had one question already from Cass. Thank you for your question, Cass. So how do you avoid saving duplicate conversations? Really good question. So Mail Manager automatically stamps every email with the date and the time to the nearest second. So if 10 people file the same email, it will only store one copy against your project folder. Right. Okay. You've had a question, John. Were you looking at any other products?
No, honestly, I wasn't looking. I didn't go into this looking for anything. Again, I was cold called, and I was impressed by what I was seeing. And when I did go through the 2-week trial, it was so easy to use that I really did not see a need to even go after anything else. And I honestly, I haven't seen anything else that seems like it would be comparable to this.
Sure. I think there's obviously, and I'm sure some people will know on the call, there's other systems out there, but most of the time what we tend to find is they're kind of like bigger document management systems, which have an email piece maybe tied to them,
Right.
but it tends to still be quite manual. So, yeah.
So, and I'll also say that the one thing that I guess I had a little bit of a bias toward was this was originally developed, as I understood it, through Arup, which is an architectural engineering firm, big. So I felt like there was kind of an understanding of how our particular industry works, and I thought that it was positive for me to be able to kind of go down that path. I also know of other clients that I work with that were using it, and I talked to a couple of them, and they were very happy with it.
Excellent, thank you for sharing that. We've had quite a few more, and so if a user doesn't file from Outlook, are those emails out of sight and unable to be found? So dependent on users filing emails.
So
I don't know does that make sense to you, Richard? John?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. So if someone doesn't file their emails, then it's in their inbox, and yeah, you can't. There's no way for you to find it through Mail Manager. It is incumbent on the user to file the email. I think that a firm needs to have somebody that kind of pushes that forward. Once you get started on it, the way it's set up, you're prompted to file things after you open them, after you send something. You're always prompted, so it makes it a little bit easier than it was in the past, where you had to physically go and file something. You don't have to file something. So if there's something you want to keep in your inbox, you can leave it there. But what we try to get across to our users is that we want to get them to think of their inbox as kind of a to-do list, and when they're done with that email, file that email. And it's mostly successful. There's probably 1 or 2 people that need the security blanket of having all their emails in their inbox, and I constantly push back on them. But the bulk of the users have no issue with keeping up with just keeping things filed, because you're prompted to do it every time you open the email and close it, or anytime you send an email.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, on that point, I guess Mail Manager is designed to be easier to file than not to file. And
Right.
Generally speaking, once you start getting in the habit of it, it becomes part of Outlook, doesn't it, John? It's
Yeah.
one click and it's filed. We've got another one here. So, John, what would you say the #1 benefit is for your firm? Has there been any pushback at all?
I'm not quite sure if I could say what a #1 benefit. I personally have a couple that I would probably rank up at the top. One, again, I can search easily, quickly, unbelievably quickly. I still can't believe how quick it is to search through all the emails. Every email that's on our system that has been filed, I can search through and I can find something. So if I happen to have received an email that I put in the wrong place, I'm able to find that within minutes. It's really good when you start looking into things like, you know, we were given this direction and you need to go back and find something, and you can put in keywords and search for it. You can put in the individual that sent it and search for it. There's so many different ways to search for things. So the search capabilities are really, really helpful. From another standpoint, one of the issues that we ran into that is a big time suck is if someone would leave previously, they never kept up on their emails. They never kept everything filed. So then what that would mean is someone, which was typically, just from our standpoint, was typically me, would have to get into their system and go through each one of their emails and file it if we wanted to maintain a record of everything that they had worked on a project. And that would be going through their sent folders and through their inbox. And it was very laborious when someone would leave if we wanted to do that. Now, because I know what people are doing, all of these things are being filed right away, and we've had a couple of people leave for one reason or another, and when we do the final closeout, actually all of their emails are already filed, so because they've been keeping up with it. So that's probably a hard thing to track, and it only happens a few times, but it was a tremendous amount of time that was spent doing that.
Perfect, thank you, John. Now I don't know if you guys use the new app, which I can go into more detail on, but the question we've had is, would people still be able to file emails if they're not at their desk?
So you mean from a mobile app?
Yeah.
So we don't use that feature. I know that there's a feature that you can set up, and we started out doing that, and it would create kind of subfolders on your phone, and then eventually it would sync. We're not on the road enough. We're not that mobile that we needed that feature, so I turned it off. But I did test it in the beginning, and it is a good feature. So it is something that you can do. We're also set up right now so that everything that we do is on a disk array in our office. It's not on the cloud. I know that there's things that you can do to save things to SharePoint that would make it a little bit easier on that end.
Yeah, there's a couple of options. So you've got options to file off your mobile. The options differ dependent on where you're actually filing, but that's something we can definitely show you if you're open to looking at this. We've got another question saying, does it actually move the emails out of someone's inbox? So I guess I'll take that one. A copy will always be moved to wherever that project folder is stored as your main central repository. There is an option to keep a copy in the inbox, whether that gets automatically moved to a subfolder which Mail Manager creates called filed items, or whether it stays in the inbox and Mail Manager automatically categorizes it. So I guess that's down to you guys, Cass. John, how do you have your setup? Do you have a copy in filed items, or?
So what we do is no, we have it filed to its location on the server and then immediately deleted. So it goes to the delete folder.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll have 3 times as many emails as I want to have. So yeah, but what Lucy says is exactly right. You can configure it how you want to. We chose to say it goes straight to the delete box, and it's still in the deleted folder if you don't empty your deleted folder, so it's still able to be found there. So there are a lot of different options that you can do.
Excellent, thank you. Rebecca, I've just got your message about are we planning to do a webinar that runs through Mail Manager? I'll get one of the team to reach out to you to book in a demonstration so you can see how this would work live within your Outlook. I think we've kind of covered this, but there's a question that says, can you set up filters so that you don't have to save every single email? The answer is you can, as John sort of mentioned, you can configure Mail Manager to work sort of how you want it to. The aim is obviously to have that prompt whenever you action an email. You can have folders set up outside of projects, like a personal filing location, for example, or you can have a send only button. So you could still send an email you know, to a colleague about grabbing lunch, for example, but it not be filed to a file server. And then oh, go on, John, sorry.
No, I'll say that what we do is we have all of our employees have their own personal folder, and they can save anything that's personal. We try to get people to not send personal email through company email. It's not the best practice, but it still happens, and they can save that all there. And then honestly, if someone leaves, that just gets deleted. So it is easy. And again, you get prompted every time you do something. So it's filing is not really even any issue whatsoever. It's nothing really that you have to even think about once you get into it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're starting to dry up the questions now. There is one more, which is about the costs. So we can discuss that with you on a demonstration or a call, but it's priced on a subscription model, and it's priced dependent on number of users. Okay. Now, unless there's any final question.
I mean, the only last thing that I would say is I get contacted by every software manufacturer in my industry and other industries, and usually I'm not happy with what I end up with for one reason or another, and I've been nothing but happy with the software. I'm
really pleased to hear that, John. I think it's nice. It's just easy, isn't it? You can't go too wrong with Mail Manager, which is the nice thing. But listen, thank you, John, so much for speaking to some of the other companies today. I'm sure it was extremely insightful. It was great for me to learn as well on your experience. I hope it was useful for everyone else. And in terms of the onboarding process, so we'll run through and we'll send you over a kind of typical implementation onboarding document where you'll be able to see sort of how people normally roll Mail Manager out or effectively get kind of buy-in internally. And feel free to obviously reach out to book in any demonstrations with us, and we'll get things booked in for you. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.